All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back from spring break for another edition of Raider Zone, the podcast. And I'm sure no tempers are going to be too bad on today's podcast at all.
None of them.
None of them at all. But my name is Jacob Buttar. Alongside me, we have some very passionate football fans in here, especially today. We got Kris Jacoby, Tom Dry, Dylan Zepp, and Jason Csank. And look, we're going to talk a lot of NFL today. So any listeners, if you don't like the NFL, this is not going to be the show for you today. But there's a lot going on, and we're going to get right into it. But first, before we get into any of the free agency moves, this was breaking news just coming today. A lot of this news is breaking news, gentlemen, because it's been flying, really, over the past couple of days. Aaron Donald has retired after a 10-year career, all playing with the St. Louis and the Los Angeles Rams as well, of course. Kind of talk about Aaron Donald's career and why he could be considered the greatest defensive tackle of all time.
I mean, the resume speaks for itself. 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, 10-time Pro Bowler, 8-time All-Pro, 2014 Defensive Rookie of the Year, and Super Bowl champion. He's the greatest defensive tackle we've seen in our generation and arguably of all time. Congrats on a great career, Aaron.
Yeah, Aaron. Great job.
Aaron Donald grew up probably 45 minutes away from me. He's a Pittsburgh boy. Played at Pitt. I'm wearing Pitt stuff right now. Hail to Pitt, baby. Let's go. Proud of him. Happy for him.
He had a 10-year career. And just thanks to Schefter for this tweet saying, Aaron Donald, Barry Sanders, only players in NFL history to play 10 seasons, get the Pro Bowl every single year. 2 players have done that, and they are 2 of the greatest players of all time. So absolutely. He joins Jason Kelce for immediate first ballot Hall of Fame in 2029.
Yeah, get this man in the Hall of Fame as soon as possible. Just absolutely dominant his entire career. There's nothing really else you could say about him. Like, just absolute dominance for 10 straight years.
Yeah, in my opinion, he's obviously the greatest defensive tackle of all time. He might be the greatest defensive player of all time, too. Aaron Donald's numbers are ridiculous. We were kind of touching on it just a little bit before the podcast started. It's a little bit of weird timing because I feel like that he was kind of saying for the past couple of years, yeah, I'm going to retire, but I thought he was going to do it more towards after he won the Super Bowl. Kind of came out of nowhere, though. I really wasn't expecting him to retire this year, but the Rams are going to be reeling for a little bit there because not going to have big number 99 in the middle there. But again, shout out Aaron Donald. Just a great career. He's definitely going to be heading to Canton in the very near future.
He did win the Super Bowl. You want to let the Rams out there.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. He said after he won the Super Bowl, he was like, "Oh, I'm going to retire," and then he kind of didn't do it, and then was kind of not talking about it.
Let's go tie some insane numbers like Barry Sanders' number.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's get that bag. He got that bag.
He did get the
He
bag.
did. He did get the bag. So smart businessman as well. That's what Aaron Donald is. But now we're going to get into some very sensitive topics for NFL free agency.
Keeping in mind this podcast is recorded in a spot where we're pretty much split between Cleveland Browns territory and Pittsburgh Steelers territory. So this is a passionate topic.
And gentlemen, the Steelers are making moves. And just a couple minutes ago, they made a highly controversial move that I know we're going to be talking about here in a second. But some quarterback movement for the Pittsburgh Steelers. A couple days ago, Russell Wilson, he signed as a Pittsburgh Steeler. And just a few minutes ago, Kenny Pickett is no longer a Pittsburgh Steeler. He's a Philadelphia Eagle. He didn't want to be a backup to Russell Wilson. Instead, he's going to go be a backup to Jalen Hurts. Thoughts on these moves? And Tom is already going.
Actually, let's see what everybody else has to say.
Okay.
I'm going to take a while.
I was just going to say I'm going to let Tom do his thing on this one.
Oh, I guess I'll say, so I'm going to mention their Patrick Queen move real quick. Hell of a move. I love that move for the Steelers. Glad he's not on Baltimore anymore. I mean, Patrick Queen, he's an elite run stopper. I mean, he's inconsistent against the pass here a little bit, but only a 9.5 missed tackle percentage, which is just a little higher than 2022. But overall, he's one of the most underrated linebackers in the NFL. That's a hell of a pickup for the Steelers. And Deontay Johnson. That trade, I don't know. I kind of felt like it was coming. Deontay, in 2021, he had 107 receptions and 1,100 yards and 8 touchdowns. This past season, 51 receptions, 717 yards and 5 touchdowns. He's a smooth route runner, and I feel like he's a good pickup for Carolina. Nice target for Bryce Young. But Pittsburgh, it felt like it was just time to move on, and they can go out in the draft and maybe get a guy like maybe trade up and try to get like Malik Neighbors.
Now they're going to trade up and get a different position now, bro.
I know. I know there's guys like Brian Robinson Jr. out there as well in the late 20s, probably early, late 20s. He'll be in that 20 range. They could target for, maybe trade back. I don't know. But at quarterback, I was so surprised today to see that. Russell Wilson, I think he's a quality veteran. I mean, He had a solid year last year, but he was just a system quarterback. Sean Payton did not let Russ cook. See, when Russ is at his best, he's rolling out of the pocket, improvising downfield. Sean Payton did not allow that to happen. I still think Russ has some of that gas in the tank. I don't think he'll be like that Pro Bowl quarterback we've seen back in Seattle. But that move today was shell-shocking. Shell-shocking. I don't know. I want to hear everyone else's thoughts on it.
I'm fine letting Tom go. I'm fine sitting back and just listening.
All right, before you go though, Tom, I'm gonna throw my 2 cents in here. So one, again, kind of Kris was talking about it a little bit here too. Patrick Queen and Deontay Johnson, those are both kind of underrated moves. They need to get rid of Deontay Johnson. He's got butterfingers, bro. I don't care. Like, I know you think it's an upgrade for Carolina. Anything's an upgrade for Carolina. Like So I mean, slight upgrade for Carolina. Bryce Young's still not gonna cook. Bryce Young's still not gonna be very good with Deontay Johnson being wide receiver 1. And then Patrick Queen. I've said this to a couple of my friends now. I'm not going to like when the Browns face them, but I love the pickup for the Steelers because I just love that they're screwing the Ravens over just a little bit, taking who, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated linebackers in the NFL. I think he was very properly rated before Roquan Smith got to the Baltimore Ravens. Then once Roquan got there, it was like, oh, Roquan's like the best linebacker there. He probably is, but Patrick Queen is still very respectable, and he's very underrated. But now onto the quarterback moves. Russell Wilson does not do anything for the Steelers, bro. I don't care. Like, he does. This is a team that is just mid right now, and I know Tom feels the same way, and we're gonna get his perspective here in a second. But they've just been mid for so long. Russell Wilson does not take you to the next level. And yes, you pay him just $1 million. If you still have Kenny Pickett on the roster, I kind of like the move because you're challenging Pickett a little bit, and you're saying like, hey, we're getting Russell Wilson for just $1 million. Like, I'd go take a flyer on him, too, for that. But they have no other quarterbacks on the roster after today's move because they also let Mason Rudolph walk and go to Tennessee for absolutely nothing as well. Kenny Pickett getting traded to Philadelphia makes absolutely no sense from both teams' perspectives because he could have sat behind Russell Wilson and he would have been the starter here pretty quickly again, I would imagine, for the Steelers. But then in the same breath, why the heck would he want to go to Philadelphia, like, at all? He's just going to sit behind Jalen Hurts for years now, and he's not going to play at all. And I don't know. I'm going to let Tom cook now because I don't make sense of any of the moves. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
So, I woke up. I had a peaceful slumber. I didn't sleep a lot last night, so I was catching up on sleep, and I felt pretty good. I was ready to have a happy, enjoyable podcast. You know, unrelated, but in college basketball, Pitt's playing in their first semifinals in over a decade. So I was pretty happy today. I have some hope for the Pirates, too, believe it or not. And then, as they so often do, my Pittsburgh Steelers looked at me. They grabbed my heart. They ripped it out again. They threw it on the ground, and they laughed at me. So I'm going to start with a positive. I'm going to talk about some of the moves they made outside of this, right? Russ, Jacob, I know you don't like it, but I think it makes sense for the sole reason of obviously they never trusted Pickett, and I'm gonna get to that, but they never trusted Pickett, and for a guy that he's a borderline Hall of Famer, and for a team that for some reason I cannot fathom, and I'll never understand, they always think they have a chance to win, which is why they're mid and why they don't have a chance to win. You know, they believe it'll move the needle a little bit. So, I mean, I get it. And it's not like you gave up anything to get him besides your alleged franchise quarterback. But on a brighter note, they re-signed Montravius Adams for 2 years. I like that. Deshaun Elliott, I think it's underrated as a safety. He's pretty solid. Miles Killebrew, heck of a person. He's a great special teamer. Dante Jackson, Kris touched on it a little bit. Deontay Johnson kind of ran his course, like we said, butterfingers. And, you know, when you start fighting teammates during the season, like
you got to go.
Yeah, it's time.
You got to go.
It's definitely time. Patrick Queen, I love it. When I thought that alone, I thought there's no way the Steelers can make me mad now. But here we are. Cameron Johnston, hopefully we finally have a good punter that isn't Presley Harvin, because Harvin does nothing but shank balls multiple times a game. But today, when I woke up, I saw the news. My cousin, who's an Eagles fan, texted me. broke the news. Kenny Pickett and a 4th-round pick for the Steelers' 3rd-round pick and 2 7th-round picks. This, make no mistake, this is not all Kenny Pickett's fault. It's not. Granted, part of it is, absolutely. And I think if the whole idea that he doesn't want to be a backup quarterback and then he got traded to Philadelphia to be a backup quarterback, I don't know how accurate that is, because that's a little fishy.
Well, Schefter did say that behind the scenes he was not happy at all with the move, and he just wasn't taking it well, that he was possibly going to be the backup. So that's where we're getting that information from.
Yeah, Schefter's lied more than once.
No, that's fair.
He's lied more than once, but regardless, I lost a little bit of respect from Kenny for that. But he's not my quarterback anymore, so screw him. Hey, listen, I'm about winning, but unfortunately, the Steelers' quote unquote dedication to winning doesn't help them. But this, I really want to talk about Kevin Colbert, Omar Khan, and Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin's never had to develop a quarterback in his life. He's a defensive guy. And when Ben was drafted, Big Ben Roethlisberger, Bill Cowher, and Kevin Colbert were in charge. Right? So Kevin Colbert has at least some idea how to draft a quarterback and what that looks like. Evidently, he didn't. He whiffed, apparently. But Mike Tomlin never once gave Kenny Pickett a chance to succeed in this league and in this city. Not once. From Matt Canada, that's the best you can do. That's the best you can do. He's one of the worst coordinators in the history of football. He's one of the worst, right? You have that. He can't even work with Big Ben. If you can't work with arguably a top 10 quarterback of all time, you think he's going to work well with a rookie quarterback? No, there's not a chance, right? So they did him dirty by at least one season with Canada. They did it again by another half a season with Canada. They never gave him a shot to win the job and actually look good. They whiffed on this from the beginning. It's like it's trying to fathom how these people could be paid millions of dollars and then they do the most stupid freaking stuff possible. I'm trying not to lose my mind on here because I'm if you can't tell, I'm a little frustrated.
Just a little bit.
I thought the Steelers had a plan. Maybe they do, but I went from thinking their plan was solid to have a chance to maybe finally win a playoff game, which we haven't done since 2016.
Yeah.
Did they just set the franchise back another 3 years? What the hell are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. What you are saying right there is facts. I don't understand how you get rid of Kenny Pickett just for that, and Russell Wilson's only going to be around, I would say, for 2-3 years max.
No.
He's on a 1-year deal.
Yeah, he's on a 1-year deal, but you can re-sign him obviously. But I don't think he's there longer than 3 years if it works out, which I don't think it's going to work out. I just don't think it's going to work out.
I view him solely as a bridge quarterback, which I thought would have been perfect for Kenny.
The bridge for no quarterback behind him now. That's
No,
proving your point right there.
You're right.
That's
You're right.
Your point. There's no quarterback.
I thought Russ was a great move. Obviously, there's some questions about how he is in the building, but if he's a guy that can do what he did last year in Denver, throw 26 touchdowns, I believe, and 8 interceptions, you can win football games with that.
Yeah,
absolutely. But like I said earlier, the Steelers, I don't know what it is in their mind. They're so committed to winning, they end up losing.
Yeah. Because
they're afraid to be bad for 2 years, get a very good quarterback, draft a good quarterback, develop him, and actually win. I have a lot of problems with the Houston Texans, but they're a good example of this. You have to suck in order to be good for a decade.
Yeah, and then to go back to your point too, though, I don't think Kenny Pickett's the worst quarterback in the league. I dog on him because I'm a Browns fan, but he's not bad. Yeah. He's not bad.
He has some of the keys. I just think
they never gave him a chance, like how you were saying.
Yeah, I think the best coaches can give any player a chance to win.
Yeah.
You play to their strengths. You highlight them. If you're not going to throw the ball more than 5 yards down the field and expect a guy to be great, that's on coaching. Absolutely. It's not even. I don't even know how that's a debate. If you don't give your quarterback, the guy you say is the future, you give him a year and a half with a just trash offensive coordinator, and then when the game and a half he plays, He has the best game and a half stretch of his career with a different coordinators.
And then they just handed the keys off just immediately after.
Yeah, Mike Tomlin may be a fraud.
Wow. That's a bold claim.
I've been saying this for a long time. He's the NFL equivalent of Doc Rivers. He won a championship in 2008, and he's been mid after.
But then to defend Tomlin, I'm going to defend Tomlin a little bit. He's been given some mid rosters a couple times too. I'm not going to lie, and he at least gets them over 500 or like in the playoff conversation.
He has all right.
So that's why I'm not going to take the Tomlin saying. I understand though.
The thing with that is, it's not like he doesn't have a complete say in personnel, because he has a huge say in personnel. He has about a 50-50 say. So if you have a 50-50 say and you can't at least develop a roster somewhat, and see, even that, this goes back to what I'm saying. Even if they have somewhat mid rosters, the best coaches, the Steelers have one of the smallest coaching staffs in the NFL, and they spend almost nothing on their assistants. If they actually start paying people to actually coach, and they have a well-rounded staff, they could actually develop players more. They suck at developing. They suck at developing players, and they suck at developing coaches. Mike Tomlin has no coaching tree. Sean McVay has coached less than half the time, and he is one of the biggest coaching trees in the NFL. Mike Tomlin doesn't have one. He is a guy in the XFL, or he had one in the XFL, if you want to count that. Like, he's a great coach, but he's so flawed in other aspects of like football that it just sets us behind all the time. I can't say how many times the fact that the Steelers just they are so afraid of being bad for 2 years. That's all this would take, because the roster isn't completely awful.
No, you have I'm looking at the depth chart right now. You have a defense. You have Cameron Hayward, T.J. Watt, Patrick Queen, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Joey Porter Jr. You have an all-tier defense, and I'm looking at the offense, and there's only one man in the quarterback row. Like, there's no depth here. You have Najee, Freiermuth, Pickens. I'm still not sold on being a legitimate receiver. I'll bend to your opinion there, because I'm still not sold on it. But
I'm not completely sold on George Pickens either, because the Steelers love drafting diva wide receivers. They've done this forever. Antonio Brown, Deontay Johnson's a great example of this, and George is another one. I mean, if they can keep him happy, there's no reason if Russ plays decent, George Pickens should have 100 catches this year. He has to. That's the only way the Steelers are going to have any passing production whatsoever.
I think your defense is going to be at the exact same level as last year, if not a bit better, with the addition of Queen.
For sure.
The issue is the offense was your downside. I don't think it's gotten any better.
Yeah.
No better, possibly taking a step back. Yeah, that's the issue.
I think they did. Mason Cole was not very good. They cut him. They don't have a replacement in sight. Presumably, they were going to take a flyer on a guy in the first round. But I don't know now. They might as well draft a quarterback, because this is going to set the franchise back 3 years at least. They should do that. They have to I'm drawing a blank, but obviously they have to find another quarterback. They have to find a center. They need
another receiver.
Another wide receiver. Calvin Austin could be all right, but I don't think he's. I think he's a solid 3. I don't think he'd be a good 2.
Is he a wide receiver 2 behind the question marks of George Pickens?
He's 5 foot. He's 5'9". I think. He's a good slot guy. You need a guy over 6 foot to be your wide receiver 2. So there's that. And they need another offensive tackle too. Like, they just don't have any depth. I thought they had a plan. Clearly they don't. And if they have their plan's just to be mediocre again. Like, this is sad. It hurts my soul. I love the Pittsburgh Steelers more than I can ever put into words. That's my fault. I do this to myself, but this hurts every single year. For the entirety of my life, I've grown up being told that this team is one of the premier teams in the NFL. That they're built to win championships, and that's what they do. That's what they're about.
Tom, no one here can understand this. You're sitting in a room of Browns
but
fans.
Yeah, you got 6 Super Bowls. We've never even been to one, bro.
I know. I would argue this is why that hurts me so much, because I've heard forever that this. I started following football in 2014. I was 9.
So you haven't seen a Super Bowl. I haven't
seen a Super Bowl. I've seen 3 playoff victories.
That's a couple more than I've seen.
The Browns have one.
That was our Super Bowl. That one victory was our Super Bowl.
Oh, I get it. I've seen 3 playoff victories. I don't know how many playoff losses. This team, it's kind of a joke, and it hurts me. It hurts me a lot because of how much I care. But whatever, I'm one fan. What my opinion doesn't matter. It's all mute and mush, and it's all.
Yeah, Mr. Jacoby has something. We're gonna wrap it up here. Chris will say.
I apologize very much.
It's okay.
Right?
It's okay. It's passion. It's passion.
I'm hurting
Good
inside.
content.
So, that move makes me want to do adult things, but I can't because I'm not an adult and it's not 5 o'clock.
Okay. All right. Here's a report. I have 2 reports. First one from Gary Dulac. The Steelers made the move because the way Pickett was poorly handling the arrival of Russell Wilson. That came on the heels of Pickett's behavior last season when he refused to dress as the emergency third quarterback in Seattle in Week 17. The next report, Kenny Pickett, his final news story in Pittsburgh. He was recently seen at a restaurant eating some pizza with a smile on his face. That's his final
beautiful
piece
report.
Beautiful report.
All right, so if that's true, number one, again, I still believe the Steelers failed him more than Pickett failed the Steelers. But the Steelers have this issue, like I said, with diva wide receivers. They do this all the time. They employ bad character people. Obviously, you can't always win with people with good character. But you could sure as hell lose with bad character people because it does make a difference.
Indeed. Well, I'm so sorry, Tom, for your loss.
It's okay, Tom.
It's rough.
Steelers Nation is mourning.
Steelers Nation, let's ride.
Don't.
Steelers Nation, let's weld.
I saw Let's Weld. I have an alternative.
That's trash. If he does that, I'll turn on him too.
I'm ready.
We're not paying him anything. We should ship him out, and we should actually rebuild, but we won't.
Rust Belt, let's smelt.
Wow. On that note,
The stare I'm getting from Tom right now.
That is awful.
All right, gentlemen. Saquon Barkley makes the big move to go from the Big Apple to Philadelphia to the Eagles, their arch rivals. Tiki Barber says he's dead to the city. The Giants then respond with trading for Brian Burns and signing Drew Lock as their new quarterback as well. So, gentlemen, what are we thinking about Saquon's move as well as kind of the Giants offseason so far?
And I still believe Saquon is a top 5 back in the league. He's only 27 years old, and he has at least 3 to 4 quality years left. And for the Giants, Brian Burns, that's a severely underrated addition, though. 46 career sacks, 95 career quarterback hits, along with 59 tackles for loss. It's a great move, and they locked him up long term. Good move there by the Giants. But it's an interesting offseason, I will say that for them.
For the Saquon move, the fact that I had to Google who Tiki Barber is should explain it all.
Whoa.
What the heck?
All right.
Where have you
I
been?
figured that would be the reaction.
Where have you been? He's
I am
one of the
not-
greatest running backs of all
He's
time.
the all-time leading rusher for the Giants, bro.
Yeah,
He isn't in the Hall of Fame
I
yet.
saw this
His
coming.
brother, shout out Rondé though. Rondé's in the hall.
Rondé.
Rondé's in the hall. I met Rondé. Rondé's a cool dude.
You know,
and I saw
I
Tiki.
apologize.
you know who
apologize
coached
for
who coached Rondé to a Super Bowl?
I know who.
Who, Chris?
Who, Tom? Who, Chris? Who, Tom?
The one and only Mike Tomlin. All right. Anyway,
I figured that response would be coming. I am more of a baseball guy than a football guy, so I'll take the blame on not knowing him.
Hey, it's all good.
This man was drafted before I was born. I don't know that I'm really going to listen to him claiming that Saquon Barkley's dead now, or whatever he said. Granted, I'm not a New York sports fan, and I know New York sports media is the most insane sports media of all time. So this from what he said, this probably applies to all of New York because New York's insane. It's a good move for the Eagles. They add to what's already a stacked roster. There's not much more there. As for the Giants' moves, Brian Burns agreed. That is an incredible move. They got a great addition for I think it was like a 5th and a 2nd or something. I can't remember what it was exactly, but it was nothing. It wasn't even a first-round pick. So
To interject, don't forget that the Panthers reportedly a couple years ago turned down 2 first-round picks for Brian Burns.
From the Rams.
So they can get a 2nd and a 5th-round pick.
I don't want to just destroy the Panthers more, but man, they make it so easy. But yeah, that's an excellent move to add to this Giants defense. Drew Lock, adds again to what I mentioned earlier of them possibly taking J.J. McCarthy. The Giants' quarterback situation is going to be one to watch with Drew Lock against Daniel Jones against possibly J.J. McCarthy. So that'll be one for post-draft discussion.
Okay.
I think the Giants deciding to pay Daniel Jones over Saquon Barkley will go down in infamy if you're a New York Giants fan. I wish Will Moore was here for this because he's a Giants fan.
Shout out Will.
He's got the most random teams, bro. Clippers, Giants, Alabama.
Well, all right, Alabama makes sense.
I know. He explained that.
He has a personal connection.
Yeah, he explained that. But
yeah, outside of that, it's suspect. But
shout out Will though. Shout out.
He's
Will.
not a bandwagon though.
Will's
So
a
I
homie.
listen. Yeah, Will's
He
a
roots for the
good friend.
Giants. He's obviously not a bandwagoner.
But yeah, I mean, in retrospect, I understand not wanting to really pay running backs. I get it. But when you have a guy like that, you could definitely argue he's a generational running back. You could make that argument, and you don't pay him, and then he walks to your division rival. The Eagles should win the Super Bowl. I'm not gonna lie. On paper, they should win the Super Bowl.
They're insane.
Yeah. But I mean, Tiki, I don't know. Maybe he's still upset that he retired a year before the Giants won the Super Bowl. But I don't know. He is their greatest running back, the Giants, and he's one of the best in the history of the league. But I don't know. I think he's just trying to. I don't know. I don't want to say fit in, but I guess he's adopted New York that much that he'll hate anybody that leaves, or I don't know. It's the right move for Saquon though if he wants to win.
Yeah, I would agree. He's getting the money. He's getting the winning team. I would take that deal.
Yeah.
Like the tush push is going to go crazy next season. The greatest play in NFL history when
Yes.
Jalen Hurts has Saquon Barkley pushing him forward because that man's quads are insane. I mean, I guess it makes sense that he's dead to the city of New York because he went to the division rival, but at the same time, it's like doesn't really matter. Like he found a better situation, and it's a business at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Giants are going to be in rough shape unless Drew Lock puts on for his city, but we'll see how that goes.
Drew, the idea that you're bringing in Drew Lock to actually compete for a starting quarterback position is
bad.
wild.
Yeah.
Again,
That's
and
crazy.
like how we
Never a
talked
good
about a
sign.
couple segments ago, Justin Fields is out there.
Yes.
And I just don't understand. I don't understand.
I don't love Fields, but I love him a whole heck of a lot more than Drew Lock and Daniel Jones.
Yep.
Yep. All
And
right.
Brian Burns, I don't know. I didn't really understand that because I don't think they're close enough to compete to make that type of trade.
Defense though, I mean, like Kayvon and Brian Burns, they're both super young defensive ends. Like that's a heck of a defensive line right there.
Yeah, but I just don't think they're close enough to I don't think they're a borderline playoff team that that would
they're
actually
not.
put them over
No.
the hump. So I don't know. It just you're gonna win 6 games instead of
Yeah.
5. I don't know. I don't get the point of it.
And this is all I'm going to add. Tiki Barber is speaking facts. I mean, because I know that, and this makes me feel old. This was obviously a long time ago now. This is coming up on 14 years. When LeBron James left the city of Cleveland just to go to the Miami Heat, I honestly said, he's dead to me. This is your franchise star that kind of just nah, I'm leaving. And not only leaving, but he's going to the rival. I understand where he's coming from. I would say the same thing. Now, I'm not faulting Saquon at all. I think Saquon should have left because the Giants obviously did not value him. But for him to go to the Eagles is crazy. Going to the rival, and they're going to play each other 2 times a year. I'm going to be watching that. I don't care anything about the Eagles and the Giants. I just want to see that happen, though, when he first goes back to the Meadowlands to play them. That's going to be crazy.
Well, he played at Penn State. He's from that
Yeah, he's
area.
from-
so
and that's what people don't understand.
He
Yeah.
went home, so it makes
Yeah.
sense. It's not like he went to
No.
It's not like he went to Dallas just to
No,
screw the Giants.
And that's what I'm saying though. I'm not faulting Saquon for the move, but I totally validate what Tiki's saying. LeBron, because the first thing that pops in my head when he says that is seriously LeBron. Oh, I'm going from Cleveland to Miami. Yeah, you're dead to me because you just blindsided me and ripped my heart out. Tiki Barber is obviously a Giants homer, so I mean he goes to the rival. Dead to him.
Do you
I'm
love
just
him
thinking-
again?
I love LeBron now again.
That sounds
no.
that sounds like a bit of a toxic relationship, Jacob.
It was toxic there for a little bit.
might wanna
I'm not gonna lie.
reevaluate.
If LeBron's listening to this, we were toxic there for a little bit.
I also do hope on some level you do root for the Eagles for Mount Union head coach Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, look, I mean,
Just
like,
saying.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just saying.
yeah.
Right. Fair enough. Then.
LeBron, listen to the last episode.
All right, chill.
Stop.
No. So,
we got bad.
all right, we're gonna pick up the pace here a little bit. We're gonna talk about just a couple more of different NFL things before we get into just briefly talking about the NCAA here. It's great talking here today, gentlemen. But King Henry, he's on his way to Baltimore. He's pairing up with Lamar Jackson. So obviously dynamic offense there. Titans respond with signing Tony Pollard away from the Dallas Cowboys and bringing in Calvin Ridley for quite a large contract. So what do we think about King Henry going with Lamar, and what do we think about the Titans' approach?
Derrick Henry, I'm just going to say this. He's one of the best running backs to ever play the game of football, but he's 30 years old. And at the end of the day, against the Browns, in 5 career games, 60 carries, only 184 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Browns have owned Derrick Henry. They own Derrick Henry. And you know what? You know what other team Derrick Henry struggles against? The Pittsburgh Steelers. And you know what other team he struggles against? The Cincinnati Bengals. Welcome to AFC North football, Derrick Henry. Somebody's going to blow you up, buddy. And for the Titans, real quick, it all depends on how Will Levis performs this season. Their season's just going to fall on him, and the plan is to let Will Levis build off of his first season, and they're hoping he's the long-term guy. If not, Mason Rudolph is the franchise.
I think King Henry and Lamar Jackson is a lethal pair, but I think you're right. He's entering a whole new world with this AFC North defense because we have an all-class defense. Pittsburgh has an all-class defense. The Bengals are there. They're there. They function. But he's got a whole new world. I think if they properly utilize him, the combo of Lamar and Derrick will be lethal around the league. So that's something for the AFC North to certainly watch. And then for the Titans, agreed. It is 100% on Will Levis. They have a genuine roster now. I didn't know that they'd get back to that for 10 years after the chaos they had with A.J. Brown. Should have re-signed A.J. Brown. But now they have Pollard, Calvin Ridley, D-Hop, Treylon Burks, and the tight end whose name is unpronounceable. That name. Yeah, exactly. They have a genuine team there. So if Will Levis performs again, I think they're a threat. Simple as that.
You want to talk about AFC North football? Week 7, 2020. Steelers, Titans in Tennessee. I'll never forget Robert Spillane knocking Derrick Henry backwards. That's one of my favorite hits ever. Robert Spillane, he's probably 5'10", just hit Derrick Henry like a freight train. I hope he's ready for this at least 6 times a year because it's going to be fun. Listen, am I concerned? Yes, but Lamar doesn't always play great against the AFC North, and Derrick Henry, he's going to get acclimated to it real quick.
I'm a little worried myself. I don't want to face Derrick Henry twice a year, but I could see how, this would be a little bit of a rough acclimation period for him. We just hit different up in the AFC North. Like they don't care about like the rules of football. They see the guy with the ball and they're like, any way possible he's going down, and I love it.
Aside from Nick Chubb, he owns the AFC North.
I mean, for me, I don't see it as a threat, and I know it's an unpopular opinion. I don't see it as a threat. I think Derrick Henry's only got like 2 or 3 years left in the NFL personally, and it's because think about it. So he's at Alabama, right? He wins the Heisman. How many carries that man was having? That's kind of why he fell out of the first round, just because wear and tear on his body. And then the Titans literally had no offense other than Derrick Henry for the past couple of years. So Derrick Henry's getting upwards of like 300, 400 carries, low-key. So, he's just getting killed out there. And now he's going to go to the AFC North. He's just going to get his body destroyed like how we've kind of all mentioned. So, whatever. It's probably going to be a little bit of something, but I don't think it's going to last long. I don't think Derrick Henry's going to be as effective in the AFC North as he was in the past. And then the Titans, I just want to say this for the record. The Tennessee Titans make no sense as an NFL franchise. They make absolutely no sense. Absolutely no sense. Tony Pollard's not bad. Yeah, whatever. That's not the one that's really bothering me. How on earth you get rid of A.J. Brown, who asked for less money than Calvin Ridley just got, and A.J. Brown's still significantly younger than Calvin Ridley? Dylan, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, that
Yeah.
you think they might be competitive. I don't think they're going to be competitive,
That's
bro.
fair.
I don't think they're going to be competitive.
That's fair. I'm looking at their ceiling. Their floor is you have Calvin Ridley, who is
Yeah.
very mid, and D-Hop, who is getting old. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
fair.
You literally downgraded your wide receiver and paid him more money than your top tier wide receiver was asking for. How does that make sense? And then also, like, and I know shout out Mike Vrabel as well, because now he's the Browns' special consultant or whatever. So whatever we want to call it, but. They're going to move on from Vrabel and bring in a new rookie head coach, too. Like, I just make the moves make sense. I don't understand it for Tennessee. But whatever. I'm not a Titans fan. I don't really care. But so we have more categories on here, but we're only going to touch on 2 more here, guys. So Kirk Cousins is leaving Minnesota. He goes to Atlanta. That's really the big quarterback move so far. Thoughts on the deal for Atlanta, and kind of where do the Vikings go?
I thought it was a great deal. Kirk Cousins, his wife is from the area. They bought a house there in the fall. And you know what? Atlanta, they have a young, talented core. We were talking about this. You said they're unproven, which they are, but they're talented. And you know what? Kirk Cousins is one of the league's most underrated quarterbacks in history. He is coming off an ACL injury, and he's going to be 36, but he's thrown for nearly 40,000 yards in his career and 270 touchdowns. He's a future Hall of Famer. Not first ballot, but I think he will eventually get into the Hall of Fame. I think he's going to actually lead the Falcons to win the NFC South in a playoff win. That's my bold prediction for the Falcons.
I think it's a bit too much bag. I don't know how he got as much as he did, especially coming off of an ACL as old as he is. But if he goes and performs like he did in Minnesota with this very young roster, I'm okay with it. I think they will be a reasonable team in that quite a division down there they have. I don't want to say trash, but man, it's not great. But I think they could do some stuff with Kirk down there. It could work.
I don't know. I think the Falcons may have won free agency. You could argue that. Here's the thing. I truly believe they're a quarterback away.
Okay.
They're a quarterback away, right? They signed Darnell Mooney. I believe they traded for Rondale Moore, right?
Yeah, when they traded Desmond Ridder.
Yeah, that's an underrated trade, I think, because Ridder was obviously he's never going to start there in Atlanta, and you get Kirk another weapon. Charlie Warner, the tight end, so they have another tight end. Well, he's kind of replacing Jonnu Smith, but still, I think the Falcons, assuming that. Oh man, I'm drawing a blank who their head coach is.
Raheem Morris.
Just
That's
new
right. Head coach.
That's right. He was the interim in 2020.
He brought Zach Robinson with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zach Robinson's huge. A lot better than anything Arthur Smith and his staff could do there, unfortunately. I think, legitimately, I agree with Chris. They could win a playoff game. But my only thing about signing Kirk Cousins, why would you pay him $180 million when you wouldn't pay Lamar $200?
Well, that's the point. Yeah, like what was that last off
year.
season? Oh my goodness! How do you not pay Lamar? I just don't get that.
That's my only thing that I really don't understand about this. But I think if Kirk gets healthy, he could be really good for them. He's a guy that's always underrated. I know I believe he's only won one playoff game, but the teams around him haven't always been great either. They haven't exactly backed him up completely very well to give him a chance to make a run. But
I mean, he has had the best wide receiver in football for the past couple seasons.
Yeah, but there's 11 on the field at once.
I mean, that's fair. It's fair.
And I'm not so much talking about his offenses, but more so his defenses.
Defenses have been terrible.
He hasn't really been back
At times.
Yeah, most of the time, or they've either been okay and bent in big moments, or they've just been trash typically. So that's all I got.
I mean, I think it's a solid move. Like everybody here is saying, Kirk Cousins is a very good quarterback, and people definitely underrate him at times. I know I have before. But yeah, I think this is a great move for the Falcons. They got like a good quarterback now. They're getting them some weapons. I mean, realistically, anything is an upgrade over Desmond Ridder. So I think they could make a little push into the playoffs, possibly.
A little noise
down in the NFC South.
I mean, yeah, I think they're in like the worst division in football in my opinion, so they're gonna win the division, I think. But like how Kris kind of mentioned, he and I were talking about this just a little bit before. I don't fully believe in their other weapons that everybody's like, oh my gosh, these are like the greatest weapons imaginable. Like Drake London, prove it. Kyle Pitts, prove it. Bijan Robinson, I think Bijan's legit. I will say that. I think Bijan's legit, and I think Arthur Smith used him terribly last year. I think that's the thing. But a dude like Kyle Pitts last year, he in my opinion, for most of the season got outplayed by Jonnu Smith. And everybody's like, Kyle Pitts is an all-world talent. Prove it to me, Kyle Pitts. And now you got the quarterback to do that. So Kirk's a good pickup in the sense that they're going to win the division now. But I don't know if they're going to win a playoff game. I wouldn't go that far yet. And then also, he's old. He's an old quarterback who, like how Dylan mentioned, is coming off an injury. Like, not just like I broke my toe or whatever. It's a ACL injury at his age. I would not have given him that much guaranteed money. As a fan of a team that gives a quarterback all that money and then he never plays because he's never available, I'd be a little concerned just a little bit about that.
And I will say the most important point of this Falcons team that I did not even realize, they have signed the man with the best name in the NFL, Ray McLeod III, to a 2-year deal. I didn't even see that deal happen, so now that's a good deal.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what the Falcons do. They're definitely upgraded a quarterback, but we'll see how far it takes them. But last kind of NFL thing that we're going to talk about here. Right. Again, there's a lot more that we could be talking about. Like, we were going to talk a little bit about the random trades of Mac Jones and Sam Howell. We're going to skip that over because it's not as big. And some big extensions, like Chris Jones got an extension, Jalen Johnson got an extension, Baker and Mike Evans. Good for them. But the ones that we're going to talk about here now, two big running back swaps. The running back market went crazy this offseason. Green Bay gives up on Aaron Jones. He's now a Minnesota Viking. Bringing Josh Jacobs, though. So that very bold move for Green Bay. Cincinnati, they swap out Joe Mixon, who's been the running back that, of course, was there for the Super Bowl, trade him away for really just a 7th-round pick to the Houston Texans, and Zach Moss is brought in. So what do we think about these running back swaps?
I just got to say, I'm just going to keep it short and simple. The running back market is a mess right now, as they are very undervalued, but they're very replaceable. That's the only explanation you really have for it. It's just a mess. That's all I got to say. But great guy. Congratulations to all the guys who got deals, though. I want to mention that. Congrats.
I'll keep it short as well. Green Bay should have kept Aaron Jones alongside Josh Jacobs. That would have been the most lethal duo in the league. They should have kept it. Instead, Aaron Jones goes over to Minnesota. All right, Minnesota's going to be in a weird spot with their quarterback. I'm annoyed by the Cincy move because it was a really good move. Mm-hmm. Zach Moss, when he was playing last year, was very good. Now the AFC North has to deal with that. Mixon, good luck in Houston. You might be in Super Bowl contention now. So, good luck.
I don't really have a lot to add. I just want to, and you saw it with the running backs a little bit, especially with Aaron Jones. Everybody moving teams but staying in the division this year was wild.
I love it.
I'm a fan of it.
it.
It's going to be madness. I don't have a lot to add. I think running backs, unfortunately, probably aren't as respected as they should be. But, I think it's good. It was good to see Saquon get paid. It was good to see Mixon get paid. It was good to see Jacobs get paid. So I'm here for it.
Yeah, Mixon on the Texans is going to be interesting. I think that'll definitely help them out a lot. Sucks for Green Bay losing Aaron Jones, but you replace him with Josh Jacobs, you're not really losing out on much there. You might be getting a little positive. I don't know. I just don't know. Like, this offseason has been insane. Mm-hmm. The amount of moves that have happened in the span of, like a week?
Yeah, basically. But, yeah, where I'm going, I think it was time for Joe Mixon to leave the Cincinnati Bengals. I think he overstayed his welcome there, and I think they were just really ready to move on from him. I agree with Dylan. I think Zach Moss is a great pickup for them, and I also think Joe Mixon is going to ball with the Houston Texans as well. So with him, and then Dameon Pierce is still on the Texans too. That's a pretty good duo right there for C.J. Stroud to go to work with. So I think it's a good move for both those teams. For the Packers' perspective, Aaron Jones, I don't know if I would have given up on him either, but Josh Jacobs, I think, unlocks a whole other avenue here for the Green Bay Packers offense. And what I mean by that is Aaron Jones, to me, whenever I think of Aaron Jones, he's a great receiving back. He was also injured a lot this past year. Josh Jacobs can just run the heck out of the football, man. Like, Josh Jacobs is going to take so much pressure off of Jordan Love back there, quarterback for Green Bay. And I think Green Bay is definitely going to be around for years to come because I'm a big Jordan Love fan. I was not a Jordan Love fan last year, like before the season started, but watching him win a playoff game over the Dallas Cowboys, might I add to. I love that. How about them Cowboys? They don't do anything in off-season either. I just love it. But of course, I think that they are definitely going to really have a new level of this offense be unloaded just because Josh Jacobs is there. So shout out the Packers. Shout out the NFL. We talked a lot about the NFL, but very well deserving. And we're going to talk briefly now just about the NCAA men's basketball tournament that will be coming up here. It's almost here, gentlemen. So real quick, who are the pretenders and who are the contenders in this year's big dance?
Contenders, I'm going to say UConn, Tennessee, Iowa State, North Carolina, Marquette for my 5. And maybe Baylor for 6. Pretenders, actually, I want to say Houston is a contender too, but for pretenders, I would say Arizona for sure, and Purdue. Those are my 2 pretenders. That's what I got to say. And shout out to those Ohio State Buckeyes, baby. Go get that win over Illinois tonight, and you might just have your spot in that tournament, at least on the bubble. Me and Mr. Buttar talked about this. I feel like they won tonight and they won tomorrow. They got a spot.
I have nearly nothing to add because I have not followed men's basketball as much as I should have. Everything I've seen tells me UConn is going to win, which is probably what I'm going to pick in a lot of my brackets, and go Ohio State basketball. I saw the game against Iowa. It was a good game. They came out on top. I would love to see them beat Illinois tonight.
I'd rather touch on the bubble real quick.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to put Seton Hall and Texas A&M in over Pitt?
You're not. That's just.
I think Pitt's
the
played their way
projection-
into the tournament.
That's just
a projection.
I
It's
don't
like Joe
know.
Lunardi. Joe Lunardi
Yeah.
does not get stuff right.
Who is this?
But it may be Lenardi, or it's bracketology.
It's
Yeah,
Lenardi.
it's Lenardi.
Pitt's getting in over.
I think Pitt's
they have
getting
to.
it.
I don't know.
If they play a good game tonight, they're getting.
I don't know how.
Pitt
the
just knocked out a
heck-
bubble team yesterday, and if they play competitive against North Carolina, if they beat them, obviously they're in. If they play competitive against them, they're going to be in.
If Pitt beats North Carolina,
I would love
They would-
I'm gonna, dude. I'm gonna go home. And I'm gonna party down in Oakland.
They would
Hell to
hop
Pitt.
up to like an 8 or 9 seed, I think, if they beat North Carolina. I personally think
Really?
that. Yeah, because I mean,
That-
they're going to have
I'm-
so many quality wins at that point.
Yeah, like they. So the loss to Wake Forest, it would have been like a month and a half ago. It was a fluke. Pitt can play with anyone. I mean, they beat Duke was shorthanded, but they still beat Duke. Like they can play with anyone. If they win tonight, it'll be Kenny Pickett who like, but yeah, I don't know. I want to touch on that because I'm obviously Pittsburgh everything, and I think Pitt's gotten a lot of disrespect, especially this year. What Jeff Capel's been able to do, it took him 6 years, but when you trust a guy and he has a vision, this shows what can happen.
He's a good coach. He's a
Yeah.
good coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I don't follow basketball that closely, but of the teams you just listed, they beat Duke and they have a shot at beating North Carolina. That's 2 blue bloods. Even I know that. And they're on the bubble?
Because
Yeah.
they got like 12 losses, basically.
Okay,
so.
that would do it.
They're-
Never mind. I'll
they're-
bow out again.
They're 21-11,
Yeah.
which is better than they were last year, and they made the tournament. But
All right, well then.
Shout out Pitt basketball. They're gonna get in.
Yeah.
It's a good game tonight.
I hope if they don't, they got. Oh,
okay.
what? You thought today with Pickett was fun? Just wait.
Just wait. All right, so I got 3 teams I want to see in. Ohio State, obviously. I want to see Marquette make it, and they will. I'm going to be rooting for Marquette. My dad went there his freshman year of college. So shout out Marquette. And then the other one is Bowling Green, who my dad also went there for the remainder of his college. And they're playing Kent State, and I got some close buddies from Kent State, so it'd be really funny if they lost, and I could hold that over them.
Go Akron basketball. They're winning the match.
Yeah, Mr.
Akron
William
all the
Moyer.
way.
William
Shout
Moyer
out to
again.
Will.
Shout out
He's
Will.
there tonight for
He is
Akron.
there. That's why he's
Ohio.
not here. So yeah,
And he's going to be there tomorrow once they beat.
and he's
Bowling
going to
Green.
the tournament next week. So he says as well, out in Indianapolis.
If Pitt wins tonight, I'll go to DC tomorrow. I'll
Do it.
Okay.
Book it.
That's a claim.
Do it. All right. So contenders for me: UConn, I think, is a strong favorite to repeat this year. I think Houston's legit. I didn't think Houston was legit until I watched them play Kansas, Kansas is my pretender. I think Kansas could be a first-round exit just because of all the injuries that they have, and they're just not playing good basketball. They lost a couple nights ago to Cincinnati, for crying out loud. So they're even out of the Big 12 tournament already. And then I think anybody in the Big East really has a shot. I think Creighton has a shot. I think Marquette has a shot. I really like Big East basketball a lot, so I think they have a good chance. Purdue, again, I keep shouting out my boy Will Moyer because he strongly disagrees with me on this. I think Purdue's a bunch of fakers. I don't think they're going to go anywhere because that's just what always happens with Purdue basketball. And since we touched on some other teams, I'm going to touch on some mid-majors that I think could make some noise. St. Mary's, I think, could make some noise. They, of course, won the West Coast Conference over Gonzaga, which was a big win for them. So I think they can make some noise. I thought Dayton could make some noise until they got upset from the A-10 tournament. So, I mean, that's a bit of a struggle. I don't know if they're going to do anything then. A team that I really like is McNeese State. McNeese State, no, they're not going to go to the Final Four. But they're going to be a 12 seed, I would imagine. They have a head coach in Will Wade, who's been to the Sweet 16 before with LSU basketball, and they're 29-4 this year. And I watched them play in the Southland Conference Championship, and I really liked what I saw from them. So I think they could be one of those Cinderella teams. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm getting at more. They're my most likely Cinderella team, I think, is McNeese State. So, gentlemen, real quick here as well. Who do we think is really the top overall number 1 seeds? And if you want to touch on number 2 seeds, you can too.
All right, I'm just going to make this quick and brief. My number 1 seeds are UConn, Purdue, Tennessee, Houston. 2 seeds, North Carolina, Marquette, Arizona, and the winner of Iowa State, Baylor tonight.
My knowledge stops at UConn, so I'll say UConn and move on.
All right, so I'll go quick here too then. UConn, yes. Purdue, yes. And then let me try to think who the other teams that we would think. Well, Houston, yeah, Houston. I can't believe I kind of forgot them. Tennessee's not going to be a number 1 seed, bro. No, because Chris, I don't know if you're paying attention. They just lost to Mississippi State in the SEC tournament. Dude, they're not even getting to the semifinals. They're not getting to the semifinals. Arizona is going to be the last number 1 seed, I think.
Well, they're getting first rounded.
It's either Arizona. I think it's a toss-up now between Arizona and North Carolina, personally, for that number 1 seed. And then obviously the other team of that is going to get a 2 seed. Tennessee will get a 2 seed. I think Marquette will get a 2 seed. And then I think you're kind of battling between Creighton as well as Iowa State and maybe Baylor. So Tom's got something to say.
We have some breaking news. Jimmy Garoppolo to the Rams.
Hey, no more Justin Fields.
Yeah, I was
then.
gonna say that takes away earlier. Fields isn't going there.
Well, I mean, that's just a weird deal. That's weird.
Chris,
I don't know.
1 year deal.
I just don't understand that. I mean, of course, I should understand it because they brought Carson Wentz in there last year in the most random move ever, and now they bring Jimmy G in there.
NFL quarterbacks continue.
NFL quarterbacks do continue, and that's just showing how crazy the NFL offseason has been this year. But, guys, we've been here for a while. We're going to wrap things up here now. Our last call of the day. So, just a fun little question. What sport venue or venues would you most want to go to and why? This was kind of thought up because we're coming back from spring break. Some of us traveled. So just thinking, like, where would you want to travel to see a game, really?
Well,
Sports venue.
I was just in Florida. I'll say I was at Sanford Historic Stadium. That's a stadium where Babe Ruth and Jackie Robinson played. Jackie Robinson was kicked off the field due to his race and segregation laws by the sheriff. His house was just right down the road. It was a cool stadium to be able to stat a game at. I was able to touch the field. It was an awesome experience, but for a stadium I haven't been to, I'm going to say Fenway Park.
I've been to Fenway.
I want to sit in the Green Monster, catch a home run ball from Jose Ramirez when the Guardians come to town, and he wins MVP.
I saw when I went to Fenway, it was against the Orioles when they still had Chris Davis, and Chris Davis hit one over the monster. That was pretty dope to see. I'm not going to lie. I was upset because I was a Red Sox fan at the time, and I was like, man, they lost. But, I mean, Chris Davis, that was pretty cool.
All right. I know where I want to go, and I will say quickly, shout out to the Lions for extensions for GM and Brad Holmes and head coach Dan Campbell. Forgot to say that earlier. Biggest move of the offseason. But I don't want to go to a baseball stadium, as weird as it sounds.
That's weird.
I want to go over to Old Trafford. I want to go where Manchester United plays because that stadium is incredible. Anytime I watch soccer over there in England, it is the most insane atmosphere of any sports environment. And I rooted for Manchester United when I watched soccer back when they had Wayne Rooney. And it's been a while. But I still want to go over there and experience that game.
I think If we're going non-North American stadiums, I would go Wembley.
That's
But
fair.
I was gonna say Fenway, but I don't want to copy Chris. I'm probably gonna go Wrigley. I've heard Wrigley's really nice. Over break I got to see Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia and Barclays Center in Brooklyn. And I like Wells Fargo a lot, but I can definitely say Rocket Mortgage in Cleveland is better than Barclays.
What about
Hands
Wells
down.
Fargo?
Sir.
I don't know.
I prefer Rocket over Wells Fargo. I was at Wells Fargo one time too. I was kind of indifferent about it.
I thought
Rocket.
Wells Fargo's 20 years old now, I believe, 20 or 25.
Yeah, it's showing its age a little bit.
It's showing its age, but for being around that long, it's not that bad. It's still nice, but they have a really weird scoreboard.
Yeah.
I don't know. It would be kind of a toss-up for me.
I was also gonna say Fenway, but there's a possibility I get to go there next year. Shout out the
National
National
Sports
Sports Forum.
Forum.
Oh, hey.
So
hey,
that'll be
Jason.
really cool if we do get to go there. So my other answer, I'm gonna say the Field of Dreams, Iowa.
Oh, that is a good
Hey,
one.
they're gonna start playing again there next year.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
That's a really good one. That's a really good one. All right, for me, first I want to say that my main goal that my dad and I have is to try to go to every NBA arena to try to watch the Cavs ideally, but if not, just go see a basketball game there. So been to a couple NBA arenas, but one I haven't been to that is probably the place that I want to go to the most, Madison Square Garden indeed. I want to go to the Garden. I mean, just the nostalgia and everything like that. Been outside the Garden before. The only time that I was in New York City, just kind of walked outside of it. But
When I went to New York, I got out at 34th Street, which is right by the Garden. So I
Yeah.
got to walk out to the Garden.
yeah,
I thought about touring. I ended up not doing that because I
Yeah.
want to see an actual game there. But
yeah.
the outsides, it's weird. It's unlike most stadiums from what I've seen.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
a lot of history there.
That's the main reason why I'd want to go to the Garden. Want to go to the Garden, but also another historic stadium that I would want to go to is all the way out in Pasadena, California, the Rose Bowl.
Oh, that's a good one.
Those scenic views, college football's finest have played in that stadium. I mean, I just think there's nothing like it. It'd be pretty dope.
That's a great pick. I didn't even think about the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many college football stadiums too that you could think of going.
The
As
Big
much
House.
as and that's exactly where I was going. Actually, was the Big House just to go see Ohio State, Michigan, and then obviously Ohio State beating the crap out of Michigan.
Whiteout at Penn State would be nuts.
That would be wild. Yeah, that would be wild. That would be a good one. That's some of my best memories. Joey Bosa ending the whiteout at Penn State. That might be my favorite Ohio State. That might be my favorite football memory right there. That was great.
Quick baseball news that just happened related to Pittsburgh Pirates. Center fielder Michael A. Taylor and the Pittsburgh Pirates have a 1-year, $4 million deal.
Let's
Just got tweeted.
go Bucks.
That's a solid supporting move for the Bucks.
Let's go.
Oh yeah,
I'm excited.
Well, Mr. Tom, I mean, Jason and I got a private tour basically of your PNC Park and Acrisure Stadium as well over break.
Oh, that name's awful. So
Acrisure was a little rough,
Yeah, it's a firm from Michigan. That's random.
And here's the thing, and I'm gonna see if you agree with me on this, Jason. When we went in the locker room for the
Are
Steelers,
you thinking what I'm thinking? Or?
when you stepped on the logo?
Oh,
What?
no, not
That,
What?
that was great. That was great.
What?
that was accidental.
Jason.
But no,
I
but
did not consciously do it.
but this is what this is what I was gonna say. I think that their locker room is trash. And I looked at and then I looked up because they did the NFLPA report cards the next day. And I was like, "There's no way that this is not an F." And it was ranked like 31st out of 32, and it was
The
ranked.
Steelers one?
Yeah,
I didn't think it was trash, but Pitts was so much nicer.
Pitts was so much
Pitts
nicer.
was ridiculously nicer than the Steelers.
Like
locker.
Aaron Donald decked out in there. Kenny Pickett was also included in the locker room and everything. Like, yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Pitt also this kind of goes back to what I said with like how they don't pay coaches or anything. The Rooneys, since Dan Rooney, the son of the late great Art Rooney, stopped really controlling operations day to day. The Steelers they were kind of cheap under Dan, but they got a lot cheaper under his son Art, and they're just. I don't think it's a bad locker room. It just has an old school vibe to it. It's not. I haven't been in there in
Bro,
a long time.
I'm
but
gonna tell you, I've been to SoFi in their locker room. SoFi's legit.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably like comparing college locker rooms to like high school
Yeah,
locker rooms.
and even I was at Ford Field one time and went to
Ford Field's
Detroit
good.
Lions like locker room. Their locker room's better than the Steelers too.
Personally, I love Acrisure. God. But I've been to Ford Field, and I like Ford Field.
Acrisure's a good stadium.
It's
a good
not
stadium.
bad. It's not bad.
It's a good stadium.
It was really cool.
Great food as well, might I add,
Oh,
Mr. Csank.
yeah. The food that they had there was incredible.
Were we at the same stadium? This had to be catered by different.
Oh, it was totally catered. It
Yeah,
was like
yeah.
pierogies galore.
Pierogies.
Haluski.
I love Haluski.
Might have ate 5 or 6 bowls of that. I'm not gonna lie.
Dude, I can down
Mr.
them.
Buttar.
That's quite good.
They're,
That's quite good.
they're amazing. Yeah. But, would you agree that PNC is one of the most beautiful ballparks?
Oh,
in
without a
America?
doubt. Without a
I-
doubt. It's
absolutely.
gorgeous.
I think it just got ranked in one of those polls as number one. And
it's gotta be
understandably,
number
that
one.
view
It's
out
all-
through center field is beautiful.
It's always top
And,
three.
then,
Yeah.
and Jason and I got to see a drone show over top
I
of
saw
that as
photos
well.
of that. That was
Very
nice.
It's
Very, very cool.
It was wild.
Jason, I look forward to seeing you in Boston next year.
And I can't wait to be
Yes,
seeing
sir.
Jason's expedition and hopefully Tom's expedition in Boston next year. But, gentlemen, great show. Give yourselves a round of applause again.
I got an outro song.
If you,
I'm scared.
He's got
I don't.
A
Like
song?
it's on the piano.
Okay.
Oh,
All
dear.
right, all right.
Let's see if they'll pick it up.
Here's the outro. Are you ready?
Yep. All right. Thank you.
I
Thank
don't-
you. I don't even know if the
what-
mic picked that
What,
up,
what
but
was that?
thank you for.
Familiar.
2 Chainz.
Okay, 2 Chainz. There we
All
go.
right, Chris.
Thank you for listening to another edition of Raider Zone, the podcast here from 91.1 WRMU and Raider Student Media.